Good evening, YouTube or BookTube, the world. It's been a while since I made a video, and I don't know. I was thinking about that today, about why I didn't have made any videos. It's because I'm reading that I really have not really read anything different. Well, I have in a way, but I don't know. It's like being in lockdown and being in isolation. The days just go by so quickly. I should first of all say it is a Friday night here in West Michigan. It is 8:09 at night. It is June the 5th. It is 79 degrees inside the Herman hut. Someone made a comment that I used the Herman hut phrase. Now, I used to use that a couple years ago when I was making videos, and I stopped using that phrase, but I use it in my paper diary. Not always. I used to, well, it's kind of like I describe myself as a contemplative Christian, but I don't know. I think I'm just a Christian, and I have an appreciation for the contemplative life and a life of prayer, but I could never be a monk. I could never live like in a monastery. First of all, I'm going on 68 years old. I've been married 41 years, and I have 3 children who are all married, and I have going on 7 grandchildren, and but I have no desire to live the monastic life or a life of being a hermit. But the hermit hut goes back, and I responded to that comment many years ago, when I left California back in 1978. I was living in California, in the Bay Area, in Richmond, California. And I've mentioned this many times. And I lived, when I was in high school, I had a fellow that I knew who built a tiny little hut in the woods on the property of my foster parent, my first foster parent, Maria Cortez, who was divorced, and she had one son named Kim. And he built this little hut in the woods. It was a little marijuana farm. I didn't know about that when I was in high school. I found out after high school about this little hut down into this, down on her land, and surrounded by a bunch of trees and bushes in a little gully. And over the years, you know, he left, you know, he didn't live there. It was just a little tiny little, you had to stoop to get inside the door. It had little windows, and I put a skylight in it, and there was room for, you could lay down in a sleeping bag and a little stove and some storage, plastic storage buckets for like food so the mice wouldn't get it. And off and on over the years, I would live there. I would stay there off and on when I didn't have a place to live. And I called it the Hermit Hut when I was writing in my diary. As you all know, I started writing in my diary in 1968. And I used to sit down in the Hermit Hut with my little lamp, cold, like a little lamp, and I would write in my diary in the Hermit Hut. And as you all know, when I left California in 78, I burned all my diaries. So, but I used to call it the Hermit Hut. Well, I also make another story. It burned down. Just before I left California to go to Bible college, I was in the Hermit Hut, and I had this little lamp. You know, you poured the little fuel in it to burn the light, and I was filling the lamp up with this oil, and I don't know, somehow it all caught fire, and and the liquid went underneath the crack in the floor of the little wood hut, and the wood hut just went into flames. I burned it down. And so it was just a little tiny little, you really couldn't live in it, but I would stay there off and on over the years. After that, I got an apartment, and then I left California to go to Bible college. But I used to call it the Herman hut. So yeah, today is June the 5th, 2020. And as far as my diary, today I ended on page 533 for the year 2020. So these are Friday reads. In the mornings, like I said, I haven't been really reading anything different in the mornings. I'm still reading the Reformation commentary. This is on Joshua, Judges, and Ruth, Reformation commentary. This is volume 4 of the Old Testament, edited by N. Scott Amos. I've been reading this in the mornings. I'm on chapter 5, verses 15 through 15, Commander of the Lord's Army. When Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing before him with his drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said to him, "Are you for us, or are you our adversaries?" And he said, "No, but I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have come." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped, and said to him, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Take off your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. So I was reading that, and I was reading this tonight for evening devotions, The Wonderful Works of God, Instruction in the Christian Religion According to Reformed Confession by Herman Bavinck. I've read in this 307 pages. I'm on the section, The Divine and Human Nature of Christ. So I've been reading this for morning and evenings. As far as what I've been reading in the evenings and during the last couple of days, I'm still reading Beatlebone by Kevin Barry. I only got that much left to read. I'll probably finish it tonight. Yeah, so I've been reading Beatlebone, which I talked about in my last video. I also got a book in the mail this week, and this book was co-authored by my brother, Michael M. Williamson, who's a photographer for the Washington Post. And what this is, it's the 13th anniversary edition of this book. This is the one I have. This came out, and it's called "And Their Children After Them: The Legacy of Let Us Praise Famous Men, James Agee, Walker Evans, and the Rise and Fall of Cotton in the South" by Dale Maharidge and Michael Williamson. Now, Michael Williamson, as I said, is my brother. He's a photographer for the Washington Post, and his photos. This book won the Pulitzer Prize for nonfiction. Forgot what year it won, but he did the photos. Now, if you notice, now I have, this is my wife's edition. Now, Let Us Now Praise Famous Men, James Agee and Walker Evans. As you open it, it opens up with photos by Walker Evans. This was published in the height of the Great Depression in Alabama, in the South, 1937, 38. I think it was first published. James Agee went down there to do an article for Fortune magazine, and then later on it was put into a book form. Copyright 1939 and 1940 by James Agee and Walker Evans. This is the 1960 edition by my wife. So the point of the whole thing is, I had this edition that I bought, and this one came out, I think, in, I don't know, I can't find anything here. 1989 this came out. But anyway, my brother is in my Facebook, and he said that this new edition was coming out. The winner of the Pulitzer Prize, 13th anniversary edition, and the children after them, 1936, 1989, and 2019, the legacy of Let Us Now Praise Famous Men, James Agee, Walker Evans, and the Rise and Fall of the Cotton. So I bought this one because I always buy my brother's books if I know about them. So I had this one already, and I had my wife's edition of this. So the point is, what Dale Maharidge and Michael S. Williamson did, they went down and tried to find the ancestors of the people that James Agee interviewed in 1936. They went down there in the 80s to find the children or grandchildren of these people that James Agee interviewed and wrote about in this book. And that's what Dale Maharidge, he is the writer, Michael was the photographer. And so the text is by Dale Maharidge. And so I've been reading this, and it's about this book and about the people and James Agee, and is talking about the rise and fall of cotton in the South. It's like a cultural study of poverty among sharecroppers, tenant farmers, and tracing out what happened to the children of these original people that James Agee interviewed in this book. So I've been reading it. That's what the point is. I've been reading this last couple of days. I hope that's not too complicated. I also got some books in the mail. I thought I'd show you. I got these books in the mail yesterday. This is a biography of Oliver Wendell Holmes, Life in War, Law and Ideas by Stephen Budiansky. Now, the reason why I got this is that I was reading last month this book, The House of Truth, a Washington Political Salon and the Foundations of American Liberalism by Brad Snyder. And one of the people in this book is Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, who was a very famous Supreme Court justice. And I want to read more about his life. He was also fought in the Civil War. He lived a very interesting life in politics. And as you all know, I like reading 19th century, early 20th century American biographies. And so I got this. So yeah, I got this, Oliver Wendell Holmes, A Life in War and Law and Ideas. Steve Donahue's is up here, his recommendation of it. He was a book reviewer. I also got this new Penguin classic by Machado Diaz, Posthumous Memoirs of Broas Cubas. Forgive me for the mispronunciation. I can't. This is the new translation, and as you know, last year or the year before, I bought his short stories in a big, huge, massive volume. And then I bought a novel, but this is by Robert Coover, The Origin of the Brontes. I also ordered his follow-up of this, which is called The Wrath of the Brontes. Yeah, which comes in the mail. I have these other books by Robert Coover, Pinocchio in Venice. And I have his novel, Public Burning, a novel by Robert Coover. So I have these already. He's a very famous writer, American writer. I think he's still living. But this was his first novel. Yeah, a sensational debut, the won the William Faulkner Foundation Award for Best First Novel. The origin of the Bruntis instantly established Robert Coover's fictional mastery set in small mid-America town. It begins with a coal mine explosion that claims 97 lives. Gavanti Bruno, hawk-faced, silent, some say deranged, is the only survivor, a lapsed Catholic given to particular visions. Bruno is adopted as a prophet by a group of secretive small-town mystics. Exposed by the town newspaper editor, the Bruntis cult gains international notoriety, and its ranks swell as its members gather on the Mount of Redemption above the site of the mine disaster to wait the apocalypse, and the fabric of the community begins to unravel. So I got that. So that's my Friday read. That's what I got in the mail, is new books. I also got a new hoodie from Death to the World, and they sent me a scarf with my new hoodie. Isn't that kind of nice? I thought I could wear this when I go in the stores. You know, what do you think? Kind of Death to the World. I like the skull. They sent that to me. That was kind of nice of them to go after the hoodie. The world is death for what it does. The world is death for what does it offer that is not transient. Death, where is thy sting? Really nice, isn't it? I really like it. Kind of cool. So, yeah. I did go to thrift stores yesterday. Thrift stores are finally opening up. Not Goodwill, not Salvation Army. Bibles for Mexico opened, and Action House opened. I got some used books, and I'll show those tomorrow. My wife has 3 shifts left. She's working tonight, she works tomorrow night, and Sunday is our last night. So tomorrow night I'll make a video about the used books I got at the thrift stores. And yeah, so I thank you for the comments. I thank you for the new subscribers. I do hope that you're all well, that you're not sick with this plague, and that you are that you have a good reading week. Like I said, you had a good reading week. You have a good weekend. I'll be reading the wonderful works of God, and primarily I've been reading the book of Joshua in the Old Testament using the Reformation commentary, writing in my diary, watching the birds, and just seeking the Lord. So once again, thank you for the comments. Thank you for the subscribers. Stay safe. Until next time. Bye.